When I convert a fraction, a common fraction, to a decimal fraction, a lot of people would ask, what if I choose the wrong denominator? So what I'm going to show you now, if I have a fifth and I have a different denominator, like I showed you with the previous one, what will happen? Will I have the right answer, or will I get to the same answer? So I'm just going to show you this example. So the first denominator is going to be a tenth. So that's my first place value. So remember what I said, the decimal fraction is going to show you that you can use your place values. Okay, then I'm going to change the first one to a tenth. So if I multiply there, the 5 times 2, I will get to 10. So what I do at the bottom, I do at the top. So 1 times 2 is going to be 2. My place value and my denominator must be in line with each other. So that is where I'm going to start writing my numerator. So my numerator is a 2. So under the tenth, I'm going to write the 2. The comma will stay where it is, and I'm going to have the 0 because there's no units. Okay, now the question is, what if I maybe by mistake wrote 100? So my denominator, I told you with the decimals, can either be a 10 or 100 or 1,000. So say for example I chose 100. Will my answer be the same? So let's have a look. The 5, what must I multiply the 5 with to get to 100? And that will be a 20. So what I do at the bottom, I'm going to do at the top. So my numerator is going to be a 20. So now to do the same rule, to follow the same rule, I'm going to write my place values there, 10 and 100. And that is where I'm going to start writing. Although my numerator has a 0, I still have to use that to indicate basically where I have to start writing. 100, that is where the place value that I have to start writing from, and then my numerator is going to be the value that I'm going to write. So if you look at the 100, so it's going to be a 0 and a 2. My comma is going to stay there, there's no units. Okay, so if you have a look at the top there, you can see basically that it's the same thing if I cover my 0. Okay, just to show you then the thousandth. So maybe I didn't see it can change to a tenth or a hundredth, and I chose a thousandth. So I still need to know the 5 I must multiply with 200. What I do at the bottom, I do at the top. So I'm going to say 1 times 200, and that's going to be 200. Now to go back to your place values, tenth, hundred and a thousandth. Okay, I'm going to follow the same rule. The denominator and my place value is going to indicate where I have to start writing. So my numerator is going to start there from a thousandth. There's a 0 and a 0, and then a 2, the comma, and the 0. So if you look above, you'll see that everywhere where there's a tenth, there's my place or my value of the 2. So if I just cover my zeros, then you're going to see it's exactly the same value. So it doesn't matter what your denominator is going to be in this case, as long as your value there, the tenth, is going to be the same. Now if I have to write the fractions as a percentage, okay, let's have a look at what happens here. Remember with the previous video I showed you that when you have a percentage, you can write this as a denominator of 100. That is standard. So that's going to be your 1 with your 2 zeros. Okay, that's also going to help you or guide you to know what you must change your denominator to. So if you have a percentage, your denominator must always be 100. And then when you convert it maybe to a decimal, it's also going to be helpful to write your place values. Okay, so in this case I've got a half. Now I'm just going to ask myself, what did I multiply the 2 to get to 100? That's going to be a 50. So what I do at the bottom, I do at the top. So I'm going to have a 50 over 100. And now, just to change it back, remember my denominator is going to be the 1 with the 2 zeros. That's basically going to show you what your percentage sign must be. Your numerator is going to be the number that's in front of your percentage sign. So this will be your denominator, the one with the 2 zeros, and then your numerator will be the number or the value that you will write in front of your percentage sign. Okay, that's going to be a half, so that's a 50%. Then if you look at 3/5, I'm going to do exactly the same. And remember now, again, because I'm using percentages, I must always have a denominator of 100. So the only thing I'm going to look for now is what did I multiply the 5 with to get to my 100, and that's going to be 20. But I do at the bottom, I do at the top. So in other words, 3 times 20 is going to be 60. And then that will be the indication of how to write my percentage. So remember, my 100 will change into the percentage sign, my 1 with the 2 zeros, and my numerator is going to be the value that I'm going to write in front of my percentage sign. Okay, if we look at the next one, and this is more in line with when you have your marks and you want to calculate what is your percentage of this, then I can use the same method. Remember again, percentage, denominator of 100. Okay, now I just have to look at my denominator. What did I multiply the 25 to get to 100? And that's going to be 4. But I do at the bottom, I do at the top. So 11 times 4 is going to be 44. And then I'm just going to write it as the percentage. My denominator becomes my percentage sign. My numerator is going to be the value that's going to be in front of my percentage sign. Now just remember, if I have, for example, just want to show you, if I've got 2 over 25, what happens now? And that is sometimes a confusing one if you get this in a test, but remember your denominator is still going to be 100 because I want to write it as a percentage. So 25 times 4 is going to be 100, and 2 times 4 is going to be 8. And now when I write it as a percentage, my percentage value is only going to have 1 digit.